as a parent, you may be wondering what you can do to help your student through the scholarship process. Now, I interviewed a committee member who has given out millions of dollars in scholarship awards, and she shared some interesting points about what parents do that can actually hurt their students' chances. So I'm going to share with you a few things not to do when working with your student on scholarships, and I'm going to give you specific actions that you can take with your student to help them work towards securing scholarships without hurting their chances. Now, one mother comes to mind in this where she knew she couldn't help financially pay for college. So her contribution to her daughter's education was by providing guidance and support throughout the process. So she had to make sure that she didn't cross the line when it came to supporting her daughter, but also was helpful in the process. And one of the suggestions I'm going to share with you completely changed their relationship and also resulted in her daughter receiving over $500,000 in scholarship awards. So stick with me, I'm going to share that with you in just a little bit. Now, don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we are releasing a new strategy to help your family work towards a debt-free degree every single week. Hello, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, and we redefine paying for college to help families secure strong financial futures rather than ones that are buried in student loan debt. And as many of you probably know, scholarships is my most favorite part of this entire process. That is my bread and butter. And so it's really common that I see parents overstepping boundaries when it comes to applying to scholarships. So instead, I want to make sure that you know what not to do, and then we'll get into what you can do. The first thing of what not to do is do not write the essays for them. I know this is so tempting to do because you can probably toot their horn way better than they can. You know their pros, you know their strengths, you know so much about them as a parent. But the problem with this, and this actually came from the committee themselves, is that they can tell. They know when a parent is the one who wrote the essay. And in fact, through the scholarship system, we've given out dozens of essays over the last 6 years, and we can tell as well. It is very obvious when a student did not write their own essay. So please do not take the risk of writing it for them. I'm going to tell you how you can help them with their essays in just a moment, but this is a really, really big one. In fact, one of the reasons you don't want to do this is because applying for scholarships is actually an ongoing process for many families. It's something your student can and should do every single year while they're in college. And if you start off by writing their essays for them, imagine them having to come back to you over and over again to say, hey, it's time for another essay. We just don't want to be in that situation, and frankly, that's not what we want to do anyway. There are a lot of tactics and strategies to make your student a strong writer, even if they hate it, which I'm going to create a separate video on that. But for now, I just want you to get a point that there are ways you can support them with an essay, but it is not by writing them. Now, the second story that we heard from this committee member was where parents were communicating for their students. So this is something we do not want you to do. Do not communicate for your student when it comes to emailing or reaching out to these committees. And one of the stories she shared was actually where a parent followed up with an application and asked if the parent, she said, did I submit everything correctly? And that just showed that the student wasn't the one taking the initiative, and that unfortunately stuck out in the committee's memory. So even if it was a great application, they remembered the fact that that parent specifically was the one doing it for the student. One of the things when it comes to choosing a winner for a scholarship is choosing a student that we think is actually going to use this money and graduate from college, which means that they have to take initiative and they have to be willing to own processes. So by you communicating for them, you are actually hurting their chances because it's making them look like they're incompetent. And we do not want to do that. Let your student give it a shot. This is also a great life skill that they can learn. If they can learn this skill now, they'll be way more competent in the future when they have to reach out to internship providers, potential employers, professors, etc. Now, the third thing I want to do, and please don't be offended by this, because I hate using this word, but please do not nag them to apply for scholarships. Nag is a strong word, but a lot of times we don't necessarily mean to be like that, but it just comes off when we're constantly having to stay on top of them. I'm going to give you a strategy to overcome that urge to nag in just a moment. But the thing is, whenever we are constantly asking them, did you apply? Did you apply? Did you apply? It makes applying for scholarships feel like they have the world on their shoulders. And then it feels like this just insurmountable task, and they just freeze. They get overwhelmed and they don't do anything. They don't apply. I always say one of the biggest reasons students don't receive scholarships is actually because they just don't submit the applications. So that said, again, I'm going to give you some tactics on how to support them in it without having to constantly be on top of them. But we want to make sure that we are not nagging them, because then we'll just get nowhere with this. Okay, so now that you know what not to do, let's turn our focus on what you can do as a parent to help increase their chances of winning scholarships. I love the idea of working as a team, as a partnership. And in fact, a lot of our big winning families, they do this in the scholarship system. They work as a team. But there is a fine line of where parents can help and support in this process and going too far to where they're actually doing it for them. So one of the first ways that you can support your student when it comes to applying for scholarships is by finding the scholarships for them. In fact, through the scholarship system, we've created a free app for families to track the scholarships that they want to apply to, including setting deadlines for when they're due. And what's great about this is you and your student can log into it with the same login, and you can add scholarships in there, and then they can knock out the applications. So a lot of times they will get overwhelmed when it comes to finding the scholarships, which in fact, actually, I'm gonna give you a free training in the link below that gives you very specific steps on how to find legitimate scholarships with less competition, because we don't want anyone wasting their time on any of the scams out there, or even the ones that our students have very low chances of winning. So if you're interested in that free training, go to the description below and click on the free webinar training, 6 Steps to Securing Scholarships. That's where I cover all about where to find them. So this is something that you can help your student with, building that list and setting the deadlines, and then that way they can just focus on knocking out the application. Now, this second suggestion is to overcome the desire to write the essay for them. Instead of writing it for them, what you can do is help them brainstorm their essay. So what I mean here is talk through the prompt with them, come up with ideas of what story can they use, what points can they make, what lessons did they learn, and try to brainstorm it with them. Of course, you also want to make sure that they're staying on topic. So these are all things you can coach them through and come up with just some quick bullet points, and then you can let them go and take it and run with it and write their essay on their own. So that brainstorming aspect, in fact, in the scholarship system, we have a 3-step writing method, and the brainstorming part is a huge piece of this, and that is something that you can absolutely work with your student on, especially since, like I said earlier, you know them so well and you probably will have some great suggestions. Now, the third and final suggestion of what you can do to help them in the scholarship process is something I call scholarship Sundays. Now, this is how I suggest overcoming that desire to nag them throughout the rest of the week. So basically the way this works is you can pick any day. We like Sundays because a lot of times those are down days, and also scholarship Sundays just has a good ring to it. But you can pick any day and maybe just 2 hours, and you can say, okay, on Sundays from 4 to 6 p.m., we're going to make snacks and we're going to work on something college related, or we're going to work on scholarships. And what this does is it alleviates stress from Monday through Saturday. So the rest of the week, we don't have to constantly be on top of them, asking if they're making progress, asking if they're applying. Instead, we know that we have that time set aside specifically for that process. And your student knows as well. So they can't come to Sunday and say, oh, no, I'm not going to do it today. It is a set time. This is when we consistently work on these applications. Now, earlier I mentioned a family, Michelle, where she couldn't financially pay for college, but she knew that she could support her daughter in the process anyway. And this was a tactic that they used religiously. Every single Sunday, they sat down and they worked on this process. And like I said, her daughter ended up with over $500,000 in offers from schools, and she also brought in some outside scholarship dollars. So it paid off greatly for them. You can start working on finding the scholarships for them while they're writing some essays, or even if you don't necessarily have anything to do for their process, you can work on paying the bills or doing the budget, whatever you need to do while they're working on the scholarships. Just having that accountability, having that set amount of time, and having you there with them is going to greatly increase the chances that they're actually going to apply. So comment below, what day and time of the week do you think would work for your family? Do you think that this is something that you can do with your students? Let me know in the comments, and I would love to see what families think would work best for them. Is it a Sunday like I suggested? Is it during the week? What day and time would work best for your family? Comment below with that. Now, again, if you want to support them in this process and you want to help them with finding the scholarships and building them a legitimate list that has less competition, make sure that you click that free training in the description. I'll walk you through exactly how we find scholarships, not using those scholarship search engines. In fact, we use a specific way, a tactic to get around those search engines and find ones that aren't even listed on there. So again, that link is in the description. So there you have it. Just a quick recap. What you don't want to do is, first, do not write the essays for them. Try not to communicate for them. Let them do it. And third, try not to nag them through the process. That will just cause them to feel overwhelmed and they won't submit anything. And then what you can do is, first, you can help find the scholarships for them. Second, you can help brainstorm the essays with them. And third, you can set up a designated time of the week to work on the scholarship process. That accountability will be a game changer for your family. All right, I hope that you found this video helpful. Don't forget to click the subscribe button because, again, every single week you're getting a new strategy to work towards a debt-free degree with your student. And I will see you in the next video.